My name is Gilles Grappinet. I am indeed Senior Executive President of the Atos Group and also the CEO of one of the subsidiaries of the Atos Group, Worldline, which is particularly dedicated to electronic payment services and digital connectivity projects for very large corporate organizations. And I would like first and foremost to thank Serge Vdida and Giovanni Po for again invited me to share with you in this fantastic event some thoughts and some lessons learned by our group over the last years regarding the topics you've been working upon probably some years ago and that we are actually using in the daily lives and the regular projects that a company like Atos is developing for its customers. So you can look at my keynote as being extremely modest. It is a testimony. It is a testimony from a large IT services company that is currently involved in many large implementation projects of Internet of Things, of digital transformation for governments, cities, very large and mid-sized corporate organizations. It is a feeling of where we are in that journey, and with, of course, some very positive reason to think that we have a bright future pursuing working in these areas, but also that we are facing still these days very significant fragilities that I would like to share with you and that are for me some worries for the potential of development of these wonderful technologies, and more importantly, that could actually also make some delays in the benefits we can extract for them as societies. So, well, I'm fully conscious that Atos is maybe less known than some other brands. We are a European-born company. You have some KPIs here. Atos is an 11 billion euros company that is delivering primarily IT services companies for any type of large organization, public and private, over the world. We have a bit more than 90,000 people as employees, and we directly operate in 72 countries around the world. Part of the Atos Group, as I mentioned, is a specific subsidiary called Worldline, which is a 7,000 people company being directly present in 17 countries and which is at the forefront of the digital and connected services we realize for many large organizations. Atos is also closely involved with Giovanni Po through a chair that we co-created with our good partners from Renault as a car automotive company. And we've been interacting with Giovanni, and I'm extremely grateful he took the challenge to create this chair around connected cars, and particularly to tackle some of the early challenges we've been facing ourselves developing connected cars projects for large corporate organizations. And last, but I could not prevent myself to do some advertising, we are having many connections with the world of universities across the world. We are every year particularly extremely proud to launch what we call the IT Challenge, which is a contest organized by the Atos Group and addressed to any universities in the world around a specific theme. This word, and you will see it resonate with one of the topics I will cover, we invite students from all over the world to share with us their ideas, their vision, their proposed solution to actually improve the way we manage our privacy in this world of extended connectivity. Last year it was around connected living, the year before connected cars, and every year we propose a theme to the community, and we are happy, of course, to support the first realization and then further on, depending on the successes of these ideas, to get them going to the business, actually. So, what I would like to share with you, as I mentioned at the beginning, is a humble viewpoint of a practitioner. We are in the downstream of your work. You search. Then we use your work to solve actual problems of large organizations. We do really believe, based on the many interactions we have with the very large corporate organizations across the world, that this is now the time for Internet of Things to become the enormous thing it can be, and to bring so many benefits to our growth models, to solve societal challenges, and to help us to get to the next stage of the evolution of the humankind. As Atos, and being involved in so many discussion, talks, and of course strategic plans of large organizations, both public and private, we see that it is there. People have understood the potential. Decision makers are ready to invest very large amount of money to make that happening. And there are good reasons for that. would like to share with you the first obvious one, that is, of course, we see many vectors that are aligned to support this belief of large organizations that this transformation, this revolution is real, and they should devote attention and bandwidth and money and good people actually to make it happening. Of course, the technological factors, you know them even better than I do by far, are more and more progressing to bring solutions, and I guess that the work of the next 3 days will certainly open new avenues to solve so many of the remaining challenges in the technical world. But in all fairness, the progresses that has been made in cloud architectures, the affordability of massive cloud services, the potential of the new data analytics solution to extract, analyze, visualize, make available data everywhere has been amazing over the last years, and we are actually ourselves contributing to that in many projects. The evolution of mobile technology, both in terms of ability to support a very large volume of data at the edge of our architectures, but also to have a better lifetime in terms of battery, or to get access to much more sophisticated services to better manage privacy and authentication. All that is progressing in the good direction, and of course, in parallel of the social technologies themselves. Fundamentally supporting, also this is supported by a phenomenal digital maturity of the populations around us that are clearly feeling, using daily the benefits of this technology, and versus some previous technology leaps that we were having. I am just amazed by the speed of adoption. Basically, nobody is feeling that this is not going in the right direction. We may have good questions around privacy, data protection, security. I will come back on that, but fundamentally, this is seen massively as a positive. Not every technology got that level of spontaneous support, actually. And of course, regulations, which is an important topic when we talk about transformation and revolution. Regulation has to follow the path. Regulation have, of course, to be adapted to this new balance of power that the world is creating as it works. And we are happy also to support, as Atos, many thinking around what is needed in terms of regulation, because one thing is for sure, there is no significant economical breakthrough which is not implying to have an updated regulation. I'm not going to refer to any recent political debates across many countries around the future of the taxi profession, but everyone can very quickly see that this type of discussion have to take place. There is no free lunch for anyone in any businesses. So at a certain point in time, it has to stay balanced. So we have definitely here, fundamentally, a very powerful alignment of forces that are pushing the Internet of Things to become the reality of today and more tomorrow. And actually it tells, I do believe, but of course I'm just speaking on behalf of so many colleagues of the Atos Group working closely with companies and of course with universities, that we do believe that the Internet of Things is certainly one of the leading paradigms to describe what is the future of this digital transformation for our economies and societies. Because of course it speaks about the permanent connectivity of everyone to everything, because it speaks about the virtually limitless capacity to extract, analyze, and add value to any data coming from any individual or from any object in real time. And it is fundamentally transforming our industrial economy, as many people much brighter than I am have already said, into an informational economy. Coming back to the very root of what has made the humankind, the ability to gather information, to understand information, and to create more value about their surrounding and their environment, to control their environment. So it is fundamentally the belief that we have, talking with so many organizations these days, that it is definitely the time to put everyone into motion to grab the benefits from this new wave of technology progresses that are ahead of us. Coming to this issue of, when you talk revolution in a human organization, in general, you always face, at minimum, two forces. the ones that are promoting the revolution and the ones that are trying to stop the revolution. And of course, in that case, I would like to share with you, and it is one of the key points of this keynote with you, is that it is a question of speed, ultimately. Because generally speaking, revolutions happen. They may happen quicker or slower, but they tell something about the type of irresistible type of force that has been unleashed. And then the realization of the revolution may take 2 decades, 1 decade, or 50 years. But fundamentally, the future is already written at the time we begin to think about revolution and to speak about it. My point here is that regarding the digital revolution, as we call it with everyday's word and the media terminology, it is definitely something that will happen. In front of such a distinguished audience, I would certainly not dare to tell you what you are absolutely convinced of. This has started, this is real, and this will be just enormous. The point is to know how many forces will try to support and how many forces will try to refrain this thing to really happen as it should. And fundamentally, we have today a type of race that has started both internally in large organizations, between the ones that actually are pushing for large organizations, whether they are public or private, to invest heavily and to get there, and versus the ones that are still thinking that it is just a big buzz that will fade away and that the normal way of making things will just pursue its quiet evolution. And of course, in front of them, you have native digital companies that are enjoying a phenomenal media support, that are making them way bigger into our daily discussion than what they are economically. But nonetheless, even we created the famous now Uberization of the world type of terminology, but it has worked very efficiently to give a very powerful wake-up call to the traditional incumbent players and large established organizations. I am amazed in my very frequent discussion with CEOs of very large corporates across the world to see at what speed the understanding of the potential of the topics you are discussing here in MobiCom for years has been progressing over the last 3-4 years. Before 2011, 2012, basically you were talking about digital transformation at the board level of most of the large corporate organizations. You were just having absolutely no attention. 4 years down the road, I cannot quote one CEO who has not put digital transformation at a very high level of its priorities for its established organization, and which is not devoting very serious financial means and very good talents to actually support first implementations. And this is, for me, you know this slide. As human organization, we try to avoid change. So there is this very famous slide. I suppose you saw it many times. It is the traditional 5 stages of denial in front of digital transformation. So it starts in the large corporate organization by the bottom left, facing the initial initiative of small startups, and it is, well, this does not concern us. And then very quickly you go when it becomes successful around us. Well, that's okay, we do it too. We have a pilot in a subsidiary or in a branch somewhere. And then when the startups become actually much more successful, then you rush to the minister, let's call it the minister, your regulator, and say, hey, stop these guys, you need to protect us. And just look around you and you will probably see it resonates with many businesses calling for help the regulators. And then very quickly the regulators just observe that he can't do nothing or that he even doesn't want to do nothing because ultimately he thinks that it is going in the right direction for the society. And there are the big guys beginning to say, hey, shouldn't we buy someone just to do the same that they are doing? Generally, it is too late because the stock market has already decided who is worth 10 billion and who is worth 5. And generally, it's not the incumbent, so it is too late. And generally, they go to the 5th stage, which is, okay, they will need to work with us anyway because we have the customers. Generally, it is also too late because look at what is happening with Netflix trying to organize its own video production for having its own TV shows because they are not happy of the conditions coming from Hollywood. Or look at Apple thinking that the next generation of smartphone will embed directly the SIM cards and they don't think they need the distribution of SIM card by the telcos. And it is just telling you that these 5 stages of denials are something you can actually observe in many sectors. The point being, that ultimately, what I am observing this time is that most of the corporate organizations, they actually went through the 5 stages very, very quickly this time. They say, okay, we know the story now. We have learned the hard way through the first era of internet. Now we take that seriously. It's done. So how we adapt to that? And it is, for me, certainly one of the most encouraging signs of this agility of our companies. They believe that what you are talking about and that you have been talking about over the last years is damn serious, and things will happen. Of course, as Atos, we are, as I mentioned, heavily involved in very, very numerous projects across the world. It covers smart cities, smart home, as you see here, Industry 4.0. We are implementing things for large corporate organizations. So we work on established and mature technologies because things have to work actually in the next 2 years. They need to handle millions of citizens, millions of passengers, drivers. We talk, of course, of things that have to be reliable, proven, and more importantly, affordable.
We need to bring the technology industries at a price point which allows business model to exist for the large corporate organization. And this is one of my topic, which is to say, yes, we have many vectors and many things which are going in the right direction around the Internet of Things. And of course, I have a definite vested interest here. I am an IT services company. I need things to happen. I need companies and governments wanting to invest to make my living and to make my 93,000 people having beautiful projects to develop their talent around them. This is, of course, my vested interest. I would like we find further ways to make this thing even bigger than it starts to be. But you know the life cycle. If we don't fix the fragilities that we are collectively facing and that we are encountering in many of our projects, you can have a long slope of disillusion. While after the initial burst of passion, people feeling that things will happen, actually the first roadblocks begin to be painful. Companies begin to lose trust that this can actually improve the business. People are fearing that ultimately the services are less good than they were promised. And when it comes to the real life, we are quite demanding as citizens. We are quite demanding collectively as customers. And when it will be automated cars and automated driving, nobody will want that not to work 100% of the time, absolutely constantly for years. It is just a no-failure option. I will come back on that, because of course, ultimately, what I do believe is no later here, but the downside of the curve will happen. The point is to make sure it is as short as it can be, so as we can just then re-trigger positively the developments that are ahead of us. So fundamentally, this is my second thought. A lot of agility, a lot of patience, and definitely large private organizations and public ones in motion to make things happen at a very wide scale. And at the same time, are we really ready to support technologically most of these large projects? I would say, based on the feedback of so many of our very good colleagues in Atos, and of course working with technology partners around these big projects, not 100%. Not 100% to really actually support the big implementations that we would like to happen everywhere. This is the point of these fragilities that I would like to share with you. The first one, certainly for us, having been involved in very large and wide scale connected projects that were relying on cellular network connectivity. This, in all fairness, we are not there yet to allow very ambitious, very functionally rich applications to be deployed on wide geographies, trusting that the network will be at the same time totally available with the right bandwidth, the right latency, and the right price point. I cannot disclose, for confidentiality reasons, how many projects have been stopped due to the cost of connectivity that we could actually not overcome in the business plans. And these projects are still on the shelves. with phenomenal functionalities that are still waiting the right level of connectivity, the right price point to be feasible. Of course, same around security. We dream and we know that there will be probably 50 billion, it is said, around 2020 connected objects and connected devices. From an IT services standpoint, having a very strong practice in digital security ourselves, we are developing and selling many services to ensure the security of the IT systems of our customers. 50 billion of connected objects are 50 billion backdoors that are allowing new accesses to the information system of large organizations. So it is very clearly a big challenge to make sure that we can in parallel upgrade the technologies that are supporting security policies, that we are upgrading the readiness mentally of the people dealing with this architecture, understanding the natural weaknesses they are creating and they need to manage while we expand the size and reach of our IT architectures. And certainly we are also ready to show responsiveness because of course hacking will happen. And the point is not that much that hacking cannot happen, it is to show that it has been handled very quickly, properly, and the weaknesses were fixed forever. And everyone, I guess, in this community has witnessed with a lot of attention the recent demonstration of hacking around, I think it was a Jeep Cherokee some weeks ago, showing the capacity actually to take advantage of the weakness in communication protocol, to take full control over a car that is actually today in the market. And I think it just tells that, of course, part of the success of our IoT story will be also the adoption and the acceptation by the population. And they certainly won't be inclined to support or accept anything that would create worries for their own security. And certainly lawmakers will not allow that to happen at all. Or insurance companies, which are probably the ones that will very quickly say their word, because they are ultimately standing behind any corporate organization. Third challenge I wanted to share with you is privacy management. There the cultures may vary from one region to another. As Atos, we see the sensitivity around privacy being definitely extremely variable from one continent to another, and even in one continent in Europe, for example. In Germany and in France, it is at the paramount, and in some other countries, people pay less attention. I have full respect for that. My point being only here that privacy will be an important topic and has to be managed with the same level of attention than the one we put in terms of solution and technology than the one we put for connectivity or for security or for the algorithm we are using to extract data. Privacy has to be managed, and in all fairness, it has not been a strong point of attention in terms of development of solutions. Should I want to erase data myself where I've been laying traces over the past years? I have just no tool, no process, and no guarantee that it will happen. And privacy is also a topic of regulation and enforcement of regulation. If the regulators are promising us something about our privacy capacity to keep it at a certain level, I want to be sure that there will be actual processes and technology to make that real. And if companies are not respecting what they are bound to respect, there will be consequences for them. Fourth challenge that we identify is definitely reliability, resilience, and scalability of the solutions of today. As we talk about the coming future, we talk about massively wide-scale implementation. And we need to make sure that the solution, the robustness of the technology we use, is basically allowing a world with just zero failure. And actually, coming from an IT background, I can just tell you that, please do not repeat that, but there are actually two types of IT that are in operation in the world. The ones that are having a critical business impact on the function, the processes they support. And of course, this type of IT architectures has been designed in mind with a zero failure tolerance type of concept. If you think about a system to allow air command control for airlines, and we operate and we've been developing this type of solution. It is designed for a zero failure coming from the technology. There is a level of redundancy, of security checks that is embedded natively in these systems. We've been operating the brain that are supporting nuclear power plants for 50 years as actors in control and command systems, gathering millions of real-time information from all the sensors of a power plant, and you can guess it is big. This is designed in mind with a zero failure, because the failure of a nuclear power plant is just not an option. So we know how to build this system. But you have also a more traditional IT, in which the business process that is supported is less critical. If a payroll is having a bug and you cannot actually execute the batch of a given payroll at the end of the month, that said, you will need to say sorry to the people that will be paid the day after. But it is just the day after. Nobody will die for that. And of course, we need to understand that in the world of IoT in real time, allowing machines to make decisions, allowing machines to change the status and the functioning of other machines without human intervention. It has to be absolutely designed with a zero failure type of approach. It is extremely demanding, and sometimes not at all the mindset we've been seeing in some projects, where the bargaining between cost, price, and ultimately the quality of what you deliver is sometimes wrongly assessed. And it has to, of course, stand the test of time. This system will be in operation for years, and it is not zero failure at the project phase, it is zero failure in the long life, and facing the scalability of this project over years that will, of course, increase the stress on the architecture that we are designing. This drives me to one of the very big fragility we are observing in these many projects, which is the current situation of most of the legacy IT system of the large public and private organizations. Most of them were not designed with real-time in mind. Most of the systems are still in batch type of architecture, while we are developing at the periphery phenomenal front-end which are functioning and that look to function fully in real time. So it creates a very big tension between the current status of the IT of most of the public and private organization at this point in time, and the actual need of adaptation they will need to go through to support the brand new applications that we are collectively designing. It tells me that digital on the chip is totally over. Digital is big, digital is serious, and it has to be also taken for all its consequences on the existing IT backend, which has been very often, over the last years, developed without the priorities in mind. So going into the Internet of Things in the public or private organization is not only developing a huge attention and resources on the front end, but it is also in parallel being ready to invest seriously on the back-end systems that will need ultimately to be synchronized with what will happen at the periphery. And many organizations have a long way to go to tell the list. So, this is to share with you what I consider being largely and primarily technological challenges that need to be solved. Of course, this would be only 50% of the success. The remaining 50% will go back as it is legitimate into the hands of the business owner, which will be about reinventing the new business models that are going to be needed actually to take the full and to exploit the full potential of the Internet of Things. And believe me, based on 5 to 10 years of experience now, it is also a big challenge for the organizations. Most of the organizations around us are not ready to think data-centric business model. What it means to take advantage of the data you collect, how you can resell them, how you can open your ecosystem to third parties that were deprived of the potential to access this data. Thinking in that direction for companies that were still thinking primarily in silos. I have my customers, the data of my customers, I make a good use of them, and I deliver my service to my customer. This type of closed world is something that is heavily challenged by the Internet of Things, which is all about the outside market and making ecosystem around the data that you have the privilege to collect as an organization. And of course, a lot of creativity is needed here, and I guess that it is at the boundary between the potential of technology and, of course, business creativity itself. So fundamentally, you see my point for this keynote. What you are discussing here is much more than the technological evolution. In all sincerity, we as Atos consider that it is also much more than a business challenge. It is a major societal progress. When we see the type of projects that are today developed by our partners and customers, it is all about making the world better, consuming less natural resources, dealing better with urban congestion. It is about enhancing our life expectation. It is about the proper drug administration in pharmaceutical protocol. It is about dealing better with the elderly people getting more and more dependent. It is about finding better alternatives to putting someone in jail to protect the society. These are so important steps that we cannot deprive ourselves to be totally enthusiastic, to find solutions to these many challenges still in front of us to make that happen. And as Atos, we do strongly believe that it is really time to unite forces again between academic communities, between technology companies like ourselves and so many that are already in this room, but also with the corporate, public and private organizations and the public authorities to make sure that we can gather forces and find relevant solutions to so many of these challenges in a very short time frame to allow the big project to actually be really successful. Thank you for your attention.